Okay, so this live is about Marcus Aurelius, and just a friend asked me to go through who Marcus Aurelius is and the things he did. So I have a few notes. One is this standard encyclopedia of philosophy. I think it's Stanford's Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and they have Marcus Aurelius note life and his works and things. So he's a second century CE Roman emperor. According to him, the only virtue is good. Sorry. Only virtue is good, only vice is bad. And things about which we normally concern. रोजमर्रे का जो हम सोचते हैं ये सही है ये बुरा है ये गलत है ये सही है. That's not only virtue is good. दिल का अच्छा है कुछ लोग बोलते हैं क्यों कुछ भी करे दिल का अच्छा है. So only virtue is good, only vice is bad. Virtue is good, only vice is bad. So he actually fought. So it was not like he's not doing anything. So his reign was troubled by attacks from Germany, Italy, Egypt, and onwards of the plague. It was written during last years of his military campaign, frequently concerning. So he did fight. Also, he wrote to a lot of people. Fronto was one of his friends. When he was 20, he wrote to these people and the other people who were Stoics. Okay. So he frequently talked about illnesses, births, and deaths. Illnesses, but in his own family. So it was not like he was dealing with everything by himself. He did talk to people about it. The title due to the moderator, Marcus's Meditations. Marcus's Meditations reads very differently from the other ancient Greek and Roman philosophical texts. Outside of Book 1, which acknowledges various writers and teachers who benefiting Marcus by giving exemplar bearers of some useful lesson. Whether the order of books and chapters is evidence of the order of events. Marcus is goal of mentally equipping himself with what comes his way. Do nothing at random. Those who now bury will be soon buried. Erase impressions. For the one who has been bitten by true doctrines, even the briefest saying suffices as a reminder of freedom from pain and fear. When Marcus refers to events in his life, he does not specify them in a way that will instead fathom. Purpose also makes sense of his collecting thing of philosophers without much scruple as to whether meditation and seeking. Although he acknowledges that he struggles to live as a philosopher, Marcus urges himself to that life. You're no longer able to have lived your whole life as a philosopher since youth. and it's clear to many others and to yourself that you are far from philosophy, so you're confused. The result is that obtaining the reputation of philosopher is no longer easy for you. If you have seen truly where the matter lies, then leave behind your reputation and be content even if you live the remainder of your life as your nature wills, as your devoted wills, and let nothing else distract you. For your experience tells you how much you have strayed. Nowhere in so called reasonings, wealth, reputation, enjoyment, nowhere do you find living well. So, where is it? In doing those things which human nature seeks. And how will one do such these things? If one has doctrines from which one's impulses and actions flow, what doctrines? Those concerning good and evil. Nothing is good for a human being, which does not make them just, temperate, courageous, and free. That nothing is bad, which does not make them the contraries. Nothing is good for a human being, which does not make them. Nothing is good for a human being, which does not make them just, temperate, courageous, and free. If you have seen truly where the metal lies, then leave behind a reputation. In saying that living well lies in doing what his nature seeks, doing an agreement with nature, doing one with experience of what happens by nature. Living continuously selecting what is according to nature and rejecting what is contrary to nature. Selecting what is according to nature and rejecting what is contrary to the nature. So you constantly pick those things which are in your nature and you reject things which are not in your nature. I think it could be like I talked to my parents, but I said that was not my nature and I still did those things. The goal is to act in accordance with nature and to be unnatural things नहीं करनी है. This one line again, the goal is to act in accordance with nature and to be in a certain cognitive state in relation to one's acts. Goal is to act in accordance with nature and to be in a certain cognitive state in agreement on the basis of experience being reasonable continually, which imply understanding. But how is to personal practice? One must modify one's beliefs about good and bad, as these inform one's impulses and actions. Yeah, if we believe that pleasure is good and pain and evil, then we'll be resentful of the pleasures enjoyed by vicious and pains suffered by the virtuous. If we believe that the pleasure is good, if we believe that pleasure is good and the pain is evil, then we'll be resentful of pleasures enjoyed by the vicious and the pain suffered by the virtuous. If you're resentful of what happens, you'll be finding fault with nature. But while false beliefs about good and bad hinders from following nature and acting virtuously, how can their removal by itself enable us to follow nature and act virtuously? Once I know that pleasure and pain are neither good nor evil, but are indifferent for my happiness, I still need to know how I should respond to this. Will false beliefs about good and bad hinder us from following nature and acting virtuously? Following nature and acting virtuously. The good, bad, and the indifferent. Very useful to begin the background of the early Stoics. While it is in our nature to preserve our bodily constitution, there are situations in which we ought to give up as our lives, for example, to save our country. If he knew he was fated to be ill, then he would have an impulse towards. In the absence of knowledge that one is fated to be ill, one should select health. We might wonder why anything should be called upon to nature preferred. Marx a way of addressing the deliberative content problem. Piety would become welcoming what happens as part of the whole. I don't know what that is. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They're like this because they can't tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and I recognize that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own, of the same mind, and possessing a share of the divine. None of them can hurt me. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I feel angry at my relative or hate him. We were born to work together. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on him, these are obstructions. To obstruct each other is unnatural. Like seeing roasted meat, another dish is in front of you, and suddenly realizing this is dead fish, a dead bird, dead pig. Others noble vintages, grape juice, and the purple roads. Perceptions like that, latching onto things and piercing through them. All throughout our lives, when things lay claim to trust, to strip away the legend that trusts them. When a slave runs from his master, we call him fugitive slave, but the law of nature is the master too. And to break it is to become fugitive. To feel grief, anger, or fear is to try to escape from something decreed by the ruler of all things. And that ruler is law, which governs what happens to each one of us. To feel grief or anger or fear is to become a fugitive. To feel grief or anger. I'm not trying to leave it. A majority of events that cause us to grieve, feel anger, or fear outside of our control. If they're outside of your control, we could not have prevented it. Except that things happen simply because they happen. Outbursts of anger, long periods of grief don't ever fix anything, but only make you worse off. Upright, modest, straightforward, sane, cooperative, disinterested. Try not to exchange them for others. And if you should forfeit them, instead about getting them back. Keep in mind that sanity means understanding things, each individual thing for what they are, and not losing the thread. Cooperation means accepting what nature assigns you, accepting it willingly. That's what cooperation is. So nature has assigned me something and accepting it. Okay. If you maintain your claim to these epithets without caring if others apply them to your or not, you'll become a new person. To keep on being the person that you have been, to keep being mauled and degraded by the life you are living, is to be devoid of sense and much too fond of life. Accepting what nature assigns you is cooperation, upright, modest, modest, straightforward, sane, cooperative, disinterested. Treat what you don't have as non-existent. Look at what you have, the things you value the most, and think of how much you'd crave them if you didn't have them. But be careful, don't feel such satisfaction that you start to overvalue them. Hello. Okay.